So let's get into why I'm optimistic about interest rates staying stable. Now, there's a few reasons for this. And the first one I just want to say is it's very clear that it buys you more time. So to give everyone an example, or not an example, but an actual true story, I have a ton of people that are waiting on their tax returns to come back, and then they'll have immediate borrowing capacities done. I kid you not, probably within 3 to 5 business days post that. Now, when you drop interest rates, there is naturally more people that are able to come in the market. So first things first, the first 2 people there that that are going to be a little bit more out of the market, which I'm really happy about, is first of all, investors and owner occupiers, because 25 basis point drop, which is what we were predicted to get, is roughly a couple percent. It's generally somewhere between 2 and 3% extra borrowing. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but that naturally brings a lot of more people in the market. So you have people that just can't get in who get in. You have also people that like a little bit more of a buffer. Now they feel safer because they can borrow more. And you also even have people who are upgrading or maybe moving on and all that kind of thing that sometimes, are just waiting for a little bit more optimism with seeing rates dropping and the RBA just to say they're coming right down. So that's one thing that we've got. And another large thing that we have is those waiting for schemes. So if everyone was following anything to do with the federal election, you would have seen the 5% deposit guarantee basically come out. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically, I'd call it's a funny thing, but I mean, I'd call it the subprime government-backed guarantee of a 5% deposit, no LMI, no stamp duty. Basically there by the federal government. That's coming in as of early 2026. So, I mean, you've got a bit of time to those sorts of people come in, but I mean, they're all definitely sitting on the sidelines as well. What I'd say to people like that, if that's you, don't wait till 2026 because the market will price it in. Developers aren't stupid. People that, are in the market aren't stupid. People will bid things up before it even gets there. Developers will just raise their prices overnight. They're not dumb to those actual thresholds. It's just what they do. And the bigger thing that I'm optimistic about why these people aren't in the market too is both flippers and developers. So they kind of sit in a similar category, but they're different. So they're people who basically use their hands or use their actual knowledge to make better market gains out of the market through actually worked capital. So that's what they do. So it's people who might buy a pretty old home or shitbox, should I say, and they flip it and make it a nice home and on-sell it for a property. Developers are people that generally will buy a house, either knock it over, build it again to a nice flush dwelling, or generally they like subdividing, or should I say putting separate, like multiple lots on a title or separate lots on a few different titles. That's what they do. So townhouses, units, all those sorts of things, duplexes, those are your developers. Now, the thing people are forgetting is developers and flippers especially, they are very serious buyers. They're not like your general ones, like your investors, owner occupiers, or people waiting for schemes. Those people will generally try to suss the market out for a little bit longer. They'll generally go somewhere between 1 and 3 months of sussing out the market before they make a move. Flippers and developers don't do that. If they see a deal that they want, they buy it. They're very, very serious buyers. So a lot of them at the moment are out of the market. It's simply because rates are up and they can't make their feasibilities actually work. So the thing is, though, as interest rates come down and especially lenders become more lenient, what you'll see happen is a lot of these feasibilities that they're doing will actually start to work and they will come straight into the market. So what I see is when these things start to happen, they come back into the market. You get guys, and it's funny because I've been even at auctions in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, right? And everyone there is dressed very neatly. You think they're all like, investment bankers, solicitors and that. You get this guy who rolls in his ute, there's concrete all over his boots, he's got a high vis on, and he stands there in the auction and keeps his hand up until he buys the home. And a lot of people look in disgust, but in my head, I'm like, that makes sense because this guy's going to knock this thing over and put 6 townhouses or 12 units on it, and a lot of people don't understand that. So these are the guys that you get that show up to these auctions, and you sometimes even get, I'd say, like syndicate groups that come to these sort of auctions as well, and these actual open homes. You don't want to be buying when these guys come to the market. And for anyone that lives especially in Sydney and Melbourne, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying here. You also get people on the phone that are speaking, other languages as well, and that's for people that are part of also syndicates or holding companies that come in, and they generally buy on behalf of a company or holding company that is within Australia, but they're getting money from elsewhere. So that happens happens too. It happens quite a lot, especially in your best markets in Sydney and Melbourne. You do actually get it. You're starting to slowly see it in some of your wealthier areas of Brisbane as well, and that's only going to continue. I'm telling you right now. Don't get me wrong. They said they're going to lock out international investors and international buyers out of the market. That doesn't lock international money out of the market. So that's still going to happen, no doubt. And you want to be in before these kinds of guys get in. Look, another reason to be really optimistic about this is because of where the market cycle is at. So I've previously done an episode, Property Clock, and my most recent update is obviously the July update. Look, that update, I described where everything is at, and this was the Property Clock I gave. So just so people know, if you're new to my channel, you should check it out. But I mean, I'll just give you a quick summary. 12 to 3 is the downturn. 3 to 6 is basically your stabilization. 6 to 9 is your upturn, 9 to 12 is your boom, and the small period between 11 and 12 is your winner's curse phase. So you can clearly see here, it's mostly your eastern seaboard that are all your best buys. I like buying between 3 and 6. I wouldn't I'd probably still buy, don't get me wrong, up to probably the mid 7 range. I'd say between 7 and 8. I'd probably happily buy as well. But I mean, you don't want to be buying any further than that, really. Like, I mean, for someone, for example, who wants to buy in Brisbane, I think some parts of Brisbane, like your inner north and inner east, still do have quite a bit to go. And, you know, some people also are anti, you know, the New South Wales Summit, a lot of anti-Victoria at the moment, so I understand that. But I mean, if we look at where all these markets are at, I mean, especially your Hobart, Wollongong, Sydney, Central Coast, Newcastle, and especially my two favourites, Geelong and Melbourne at the moment, you are at the absolute best time to buy. I would argue actually the best time to buy was probably the turn of the year, maybe late last year, early this year. I think that was the bottom of the market, especially for Melbourne. Most of the agents I know there agree with me on that as well. So that's where we're at with all of these markets. So another reason to be optimistic is that interest rate cut has actually bought you a little bit more time. This, especially those markets there that are in that stabilization phase, in the very bottom, should I say, their upturn, they would move quite quickly, even more so, if we were to get an interest rate cut. So for all those people sitting on the sidelines, it's actually bought you a little bit more time, which I'm very thankful about, mind you. Let's just go also in because of what's happened here, the benefits of actually getting in the market. So first things first, no doubt 100% everyone's going to understand that you're going to get better prices here. So what do I mean by this? Obviously, less people in the market, you're going to get better prices. Now, you might get, for example, let's say 10 people through an open home at the moment, maybe 2 of those people are serious buyers, maybe 3. So 2 to 3 are serious out of 10. You get a 25 basis point interest cut, you're probably getting, I'd say, maybe something like 20 to 25 people, because people will go with sentiment. It's just what people do. And I mean, you might get, let's say, somewhere between 3 and 6 serious buyers. Now, if that comes down to 0.5%, you're going to get probably something around the, I'd say, 30 to 35 people. You'll start to get the developers, and also not only that too, but your actual, should I say, flippers in the market who are very serious buyers. So you might now have 10 buyers, but 3 of them are developers and flippers. So if that happens, that really pushes the market up, because a lot of people can't actually compete with them because they have a lot more money than the average person. That's another thing to consider there. Another thing that people don't consider is the interest rate cuts are going to be within a lot of people's settlement period. So for those who are looking to buy pretty much in the next couple of weeks or month or so, what you'll see is if you can get a settlement period of anything like your 40 to 60 days or something like that, you're going to get interest rate cuts by the time you settle it. So it's going to look more expensive when you are actually in the period, should I say, of, getting your loan done. You get loan docs issued saying, you might say $3,000 a week. By the time you settle, it might say $2,880 or something like that. So that's actually going to help you a lot in terms of your cash flow as well. And the other couple of things are you have reasonable terms still in the market. So when the market really picks up, you get people throwing unconditional offers everywhere. They don't even get pest and building reports done. They don't inspect properties. They just call up, throw an unconditional offer. They don't even look at it. A lot of actually buyers agents do that. They don't care about their client. That's just what they do, a lot of them. And they just try to get deals done. But when the market is still, in the very early stages of the upturn or stabilization, a lot of the time you can get, ridiculously good terms. So, 5% deposits you can get quite easily. When the market's hot, they'll only say 10% because they know they can get it. Sometimes you might get better cool offs than average. Sometimes you might get pest and building reports, or should I say, not only pest and building reports, but finance clauses as well. So all these terms are good. I mean, this is when you really want to be buying. You don't want to be doing this like when rates, drop right down, because there'll be people throwing unconditional offers everywhere. And I mean, an agent's always going to take an unconditional offer, even if it is a little bit slightly lower, because they know they have the sale. That's the reason. As I've discussed there are also limited additional schemes. So a lot of them are coming in early next year, as I've discussed previously, and that is what you don't want to be involved in, because everyone piles in when you can. And there's a lot of people I know already thinking about it, but I strongly suggest if that is you and you can afford to now, I'll do it beforehand, because all the money will be priced in the market by the time that comes around. Finally, the last benefit I want to get into is lending will further relax. And it's a key thing that people forget. But what do I mean by that? What I mean is when rates come down, lenders think of things differently. So don't get me wrong, the big four are fairly similar, but some of them might take, for example, if you're self-employed, 1 year in isolation. So that's even now, because rates have started to come down, I know some of the lenders have actually been more lenient with it. Previously, a lot of them would take it on a case-by-case basis, but some just do it if you have your returns now, which is great. I know some, even your second and third tier lenders, that still, some of these second tier have perfectly good interest rates and products as well. They're nothing really wrong with them. They're just not a tier one lender. Some of them take in all different things. So I have some clients who are salespeople, and I mean, a lot of them obviously are heavily reliant on commission in terms of their overall package for a year. So a lot of them, are getting assessed much better now. And that's only going to continue. So you're going to have higher borrowing capacities here in the future, because banks become more lenient when they know rates are coming down. It's just, obviously an actuarial risk analysis that they do. So that's just another thing there just to consider. That's going to bring a lot more people in the market. And you don't want to be the person who sits there and waits for that order to be priced into the market, because that's 5 to 10% minimum. So, if you're buying at, let's say, $800,000, that's $40,000 you missed out on. Minimum 10%, 80. So I don't think you want to miss out on that if you have, the ability to get in now. Let's also just consider a few other things. So that's just, keep in mind in the time of these cycles. So people aren't stupid, really. The thing is, when people know interest rates are coming down and they're a person wanting to sell, a lot of people, because they've been in the market for quite a while in good suburbs, generally try to hold on to their properties, right? Now, the reason for this is because they know it affects the market. So I've heard plenty of people say, for example, and agents that I'm talking to say, I know all these people wanting to sell, but they've said I want to sell in October, November. And the agent said, yeah, they want to sell. And they've actually directly said to me, we're wanting to sell then because we know interest rates are coming down. We'll get more for our property. And I even say to the agent, look, they're 100% right on that. I agree with them completely. That's the truth. So what people do is in a lot of these good areas, because they're quite well versed with how the market works, they actually hold on to their properties and they sell when they know the market is going to have a lot of competition. So this is just an example here of Albert Park, Middle Park, and St Kilda West. This is literally just looking for, and you can see in probably that top left corner, top right in the corner there, that would probably be maybe just touching Port Melbourne. But you can see how little stock. This is 3 and a bit suburbs you can see here, and there's 7 houses, 8 houses on the market. This is what happens when you get suburbs like this and times like this. Just there's no stock on the market. It's very hard to purchase exactly what I want, houses that are detached in these kinds of markets on the right street. I can see here alone I would eliminate probably all bar one of these properties out of my personal analysis. And I won't get into the reasons because that's client-specific privileged information, should I say. But, this is what happens in the market. So just keep that in mind. It is actually very hard to source properties in the right areas for this. It's because people aren't stupid. People know that, they can hold on to properties and they can get a lot more for them in times where interest rates are coming down, and especially in the spring selling season, if that's the case as well. So, it's quite hard to get it. A lot of the stock that is good is snapped up by people like myself and my clients and a couple of other players. It's sometimes even snapped up by agents, funny enough, who are in the office and they might be looking to buy themselves. They don't generally let many people look at it. I've done deals with agents where, I kid you not, we've been at an open home just chatting, catching up for a coffee. He said he's going to have a look and chat to an owner. He said, do you want to come? We can catch up then. Just ask the owner if you mind. She said, I want to sell it for a reasonable price. And we got the deal done pretty much. Got the conveyances involved and pretty much got the deal done from there before. So those sorts of things will happen. A lot of the good stock will not come to market. And if it does, it'll be very, very hard to get it for the right price. And if you do, you've done very well. And again, you want to do this when the market is, literally, I kid you not, at its stabilization phase, or ideally the bottom, because you don't get these things when it really starts to move. That's a little bit of a fallacy, should I say, of what a lot of people think.